Hey there, good man fam. If you haven't heard anything about this whole Simone Biles Owens situation, then you should thank God because it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to explain a couple of things today because I really need people to understand what this situation actually did. Now, Simone Biles Owens, for individuals who don't know, is one of the greatest gymnasts ever. She might be the most decorated female gymnast. And what happened was her husband went on a podcast and she was there as well, but she was sitting off on the side. And he, in essence, said that he believes men are the prize. And because men pander like crazy to females and have been taught to do that, these guys who were on the panel started alluding to him not being the prize. Like, who are you? Nobody knows you, but you'll never be as great as athlete as her as well in this whole nine. And she chimed in and let them know, like, hey, a few years from now, nobody's going to be talking about me. They're going to be talking about him. And part of the reason why I believe she said that is because one of the things about the Olympics where she actually performs and gets the most accolades and attention is that it only happens every 4 years, at least the summer one, the one in which she performs. And that 4-year period gets a lot of attention when it comes out. So it's like being on steroids, so to speak, news-wise. This guy, Jonathan Owens, her husband, he is in the NFL, and the NFL plays every year. So the attention is more constant. It's like saying, hey, these people get 2 million people watching them every game. And those games are 16 games a season for a season every year. Whereas with the Olympics, it's a real big thing for 2 weeks every 4 years. Now, they do some build up to it with advertisement, of course, but that's the thing. So the reason that so many people might know Simone Biles Owens is because when the Olympics come, it's so huge, but it's huge in a short period of time. Well, on the podcast, he said he didn't know her before she hit him up. Yeah, she hit him up. And what happened was the Sisterhood got really pissed off about that. So it was a combination of him saying he didn't know her and men are the prize. So what happened was modern females started going off on social media about that interview, talking about she should divorce him and all this craziness. And I'm sitting there like, do they not understand how difficult it is to get commitment from a man? And she got commitment from a guy who would be considered a high quality, high value man. And you're going to tell her to get rid of the guy because he told the truth about men being the prize? Crazy, right? But then they did this. They went on TikTok and started doing all of these cringe videos trying to do what? Demean him. They're talking about he was demeaning her by saying he didn't know her. How was that demeaning her by me just stating something factual? I didn't know this person. Why is that demeaning? I'm going to explain something about that in a second. So on those TikToks, they did what? They started asking their husbands or their significant others, do they know Simone Biles Owens? And then they would ask, do they know her husband? And act like that's a gotcha.
Do you know who Simone Biles is?
Yeah.
Do you know who her husband is?
He's in the NFL.
Yeah, but do you know who he is?
No.
Exactly.
Do you know who Simone Biles is?
The gymnast.
Do you know who her husband is?
He's an NFL player.
Ew.
Do you know who Simone Biles is?
The Olympian? Yeah.
Okay, so do you know who her husband is?
She's married?
Yeah, she's married.
Who?
Some NFL player, I think.
Football player.
Yeah, football player. So you have no idea who she's married to?
Oh.
Crazy, right? Now, that wasn't the thing that irritated me the most. The thing that irritated me the most is something that I've noticed from Black modern females a lot. And that is that every time a black man says something, does something that has anything to do with black females, they always try to find a reason to say that he is in some way attacking them. Doesn't matter what he says, it's always them sitting there waiting like a cobra, like say something, say something, say something crazy, say anything, anything. Oh, there it is. See, black man, look at black man doing it. This doggone black female, I believe she's a modern female, talking about she's a psychologist or therapist, whatever, said that this guy was trying to demean Simone Biles, talking about it's a pattern of men trying to demean women.
If you haven't watched the full interview, you can go back and watch it. I've only watched a 3-minute clip, and as a therapist and honestly as a person, I'm intrigued. Because why would you publicly say that? Because the facts of how they met are the facts. If he didn't know who she was, then he didn't know who she was. But I think there's a way to tell this story that probably would have been a little bit more loving and seemed a little less misogynistic. Because the way he talked about it seemed like he was trying to humble her, at least as a listener. And that's a pattern in heterosexual couples where the woman is more stereotypically successful than the man. When really successful women have male partners, sometimes the men try to humble and publicly humiliate them. And I feel like that's how this interview is landing. Because I really find it hard to believe that he didn't know who she was, even if he didn't watch gymnastics, simply because the black community supports and uplifts black excellence. So as a black person, you do not have to watch sports to know who record-breaking black athletes are, because we're going to celebrate it regardless. Like, never watched golf. I knew who Tiger Woods was growing up. Like, I don't watch tennis, but Venus and Serena, you don't have to watch the sports to know the people, especially if they're black. So even if he didn't originally know who she was, I'm sure he looked her up and then found out who she was. And that he could have shared in the interview in a nicer way. Like, I don't watch gymnastics, so I wasn't too familiar with her, but then I looked her up and wow, she was so impressive. She won all these medals, these awards. I saw her routines and she was amazing. I was so impressed I had to get to know her. You see how that's a completely different story than I didn't know who she was on me like that? Come on now. You want to celebrate and uplift your partner. Even if they were the person that was interested first, you were interested back. Like, he really made it seem like she dragged him through a relationship, which is why it felt really uncomfortable to watch. Then we add the additional layer of her not only being a black woman, but being an athletic black woman, which we know how black women are scrutinized in society and in the media. We're literally directly and indirectly told that black women are the least desirable people to date, and the least attractive based off of society standards. And here you are, a black man married to one of the most successful black athletes of our time, and you're saying you didn't know who she was and she basically convinced you to be with her? Why would you publicly say that? Like, I'm just really confused. And this is where the therapist in me is also intrigued, because how we talk about our partners is usually reflective of how we feel about them and how we feel about our relationship in one way or another. So the fact that he was talking about the relationship in this way, and she was smiling, grinning, blushing, agreeing with it, and didn't seem bothered by his comments, that's telling me that maybe they share viewpoints. And if she was the person that was pursuing him, pursuing the relationship, maybe even pursuing marriage, then maybe she shares that viewpoint that he is the catch. He can believe he's a catch. I think we should all believe we're catches. However, in public conversations, when we are talking about a relationship, when we're talking about our partners, it's a little off-putting to describe ourselves as the catch of the relationship, because it's demeaning. It really demeans our partners when we speak like this. Because it would have been really easy for him to say, oh, you know, I didn't watch the Olympics. I don't really follow gymnastics, so I didn't know who she was. But when I saw her swipe up on me, you know, I looked her up and, oh my God, she was such a good gymnast. She was so amazing. I was so impressed with her. I had to get to know her. We got to know each other. And I was honestly afraid to commit. Like, I wasn't really ready for that at that stage of my life, but I really fell for her. And she's just so amazing. She's such a catch. And we ended up getting together, getting married, in the end. It's the exact same story with a whole different way of describing it. And it just felt a little bit warmer and fuzzier.
What? And see, this is that bull crap. This is why this entire gender war situation is happening. Because the sisterhood does not want success to happen. What the sisterhood wants is for it to be free to do whatever it wants, but without consequences. They don't give a crap about actually trying to be successful. They want to be free without having to deal with the responsibilities of that freedom. So go do whatever you want to do on OnlyFans, but you still want to be able to get the guy who loves, honors, and respects you and think he feels loved, honored, and respected. Yet your past is going to make his peers laugh at him and not respect him. But that's okay with you because you got what you wanted, right? Right. Go and sleep with however many men you want, the Tiana Trumps of the world. Do whatever you want to do, but in the end, want a man to take you seriously. And if he doesn't, then somehow he's not a real man. So what did this whole Simone Biles Owens situation reveal? It reveals something very, very simple. That the sisterhood itself is completely and utterly self-destructive.